Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there in Radio Land. Those Muckrakers coming to you live once again through the power of the internet. I'm Pat.
I'm Pete.
I'm Bobby.
And this is episode 111. So, Pete, what's up in today's episode?
Do we need to tell people they're listening to those Muckrakers at this point, or does the two people that accidentally click on, they know, right?
Two people plus Wesley, and I feel like Wesley does need to be told that because there's
That's
no
true.
way he would know the difference between this and any random Star Trek fanfic he has like queued up. Wesley, our one listener, one deliberate listener.
We were going on talking about how there's no compromise with certain groups because there's a bill right now, HR1, that is, I don't know where it's at. I feel dumb about this. When they're talking about a bill, I'm like, where is it in the process? And like, I don't know the rules about how long it takes to get to the House. Like, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Well, shit has to go through committee, and the committees basically work it down. And that's why most committees are, for the most part, bipartisan. Like, the party in control will have the majority on the committee. But it's to try to hash out bipartisanship. But like we were talking about before we started the episode, there's no bipartisanship when you're working with Republicans.
Yeah, no,
absolutely not. They're not interested in any of it. And it's, Obamacare passed, they never consulted Republicans. Obamacare was passed after 17 months.
They definitely consulted Republicans. They tried to compromise with them. That's why we have not, universal health care. We have Romney.
That's why we don't.
Like, they just took what Mitt Romney did, a Republican. And what that was very much a Republican idea right up until Obama suggested it. Now it's a Democrat idea, and they're just tossing it out and saying, no, this is not going to work.
Oh, it's socialism to have people buy private health insurance. That's
right.
That's the real socialism. Somebody tell the Zapatista. That's
the compromise from the get-go was always, having a thing that people can buy, affordable health care instead of universal health care. That was the compromise, and Republicans are pretending like there was no compromise. They're retconning history, so it looks like the Democrats are like trying to ram socialism through.
And it's also the ACA. Lest we forget, the ACA, that exact model, create a government. It wasn't just Mitt Romney in, what was it, Massachusetts?
Yeah, Massachusetts.
He was the Republican to implement it on a state level. However, that was Newt Gingrich's plan in the fucking 90s. Like, that was their contract with America. That was their healthcare solution.
So we have to incept the Republican. So either we have to do a whole inception thing with Republicans to make them think it was their idea, or I'm just saying here, the easier way.
It was their idea.
I know, but
their idea. They reject it the second a Democrat says we agree with it.
That's
why it's away from it. They pretend like it was like Homer going into the bushes in that meme. They pretend like it was never their idea.
That's fucking Inception, though. Inception doesn't work if you don't believe the idea is yours. Did you not?
So we just need to get all the Republicans a little top so they can spin it and see it fall over so they'll know they're awake.
Yeah, or I'm just saying this might be easier. We just co-opt all the Republican talking points: racism, guns, denying people's fucking rights.
Democrats act racist, the Republicans will distance themselves from racism.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best. We should have just like embraced Donald Trump as the great, Democratic, and then they would have distanced from him so quickly. They're like, well, we can't both claim him.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know if government by 4D chess worth of irony is a very stable system.
Remember that when
people just held that because he was just a giant troll, incapable of doing the job. So all he had to do is sit around and insult people on Twitter, and they're like, "It's 4D chess. See, he's trying to play the media like a fiddle. It's all a very thing." And while the media is over there paying attention to Covfefe, he's secretly getting stuff done. It's like, no, he's just an asshole that watches Fox News all day and regurgitates their talking points.
If you've ever
had doing work, passed out on a toilet mid-tweet. That's how we got Covfefe. He passed out on a toilet. But here's the thing about Covfefe that somebody pointed out, and I don't know why it wasn't a bigger talking point. Like, usually whenever Trump had a misspelling in a tweet, like within 5 minutes, the tweet would be deleted, and the exact same thing with the misspelling corrected would be posted. That one went up for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Did no one check on the president? Because it was between the hours of 10 a.m. and noon.
Well, that's what I'm waiting on. Eventually, they're going to release like reports of how many medical episodes he had in the White House. Because like the stuff about Kennedy didn't come out, I think, till a while after he was dead. Like Kennedy got last rites, I think, like 2 or 3 times while he was president because like he was in such bad health. And they didn't know till later. So like at some point years later, they're going to be like, yeah, Trump was officially dead. His heart stopped several times while president during Covfefe. Like, yeah, they're gonna that it'll come out like that time.
And Republicans in the Senate knew that. That's why they didn't vote to remove him from office so that he could keep the health care that he needs. See, they care about health care.
Remember when he went to Walter Reed Hospital just like on a routine but immediate emergency checkup?
Yes, like routine immediate emergency checkup.
Yeah, just you know how you go to the hospital and like a train of ambulances, you know, because that's a thing that happens. So today, go ahead.
I just like that his post-presidency is he's just a wedding crasher these days. He showed up at a couple's wedding. He walked in. He complained about the results of the election. Then he said, "But did y'all have a wonderful time, folks?" And then he walks off.
I would, if he showed
it's wonderful.
I mean,
like,
that's
what he was made to
I
do.
know.
If
that's
he showed
70-year-olds I know.
If he showed up at my wedding, it would also, I think, quickly become my funeral as I just like, as I just clawed through Secret Service to punch him in his orange face. I would just, I would find out how many bullets it takes to stop a man's momentum as he flies towards you, fist out.
Just do some quick math in your head.
Yeah. I'm just like, what is it? The mass times force equals accelerator, or mass time, anyway.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Yeah, I would be doing that versus like bullets hitting me.
Times acceleration equals force. But.
Yeah. So how would I be able to fly through a massive Secret Service to punch him in the face if he showed up at my wedding?
I mean, even that one guy got one entire shoe at George Bush before.
No, he got 2.
He got 2.
Oh yeah, he did get 2.
He got 2.
So it all depends on how much they hate you.
No. It depends on how incompetent the Secret Service is that day. Meaning, how much did they have to drink the night before? Because you got to be like, Bush the guy had time to he didn't have them both in his hands. He had to like take off a shoe and throw it and then take off another one. And still nobody had like.
So Bush did duck both shoes. That was the most impressed with him I was his entire presidency.
Yeah. You know, both of those would have
dodged the shoes successfully.
Could
you imagine Donald Trump dodging a shoe? No way. They'd both smack him right in his orange face.
He'd have 2 big ones.
Ow, Bigly. Yeah. I dodged that. Ow, Bigly.
Well, he'd get hit and say that he didn't.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what
I totally dodged that. No one's better at dodging that, folks. Oh, and then the Secret Service said there's no way anyone could have dodged that. But you did it, sir, and that's so amazing. Many people are saying so. But you were hit right in your face. I just made it look that way. 5D chess.
So HR1 is a bill that's going through right now. And I need to find a way to like actually read the whole bill because I love how uninformed I am. And I think I'm better informed than like the average person, which is sad. But basically it like expands voter access. And the big thing is it means that if you're receiving donor money, you have to be like, here's my list of donors, right? And people don't like that.
Which is wonderful because the way things work right now with PACs and super PACs, basically people can provide unlimited money for free to a candidate so long as they follow certain guidelines, like they can't directly coordinate with them, but the candidate can like put out a newsreel of ideas and say, I'm just putting this out there for anyone. But the PACs can look at it and be like, this is what they actually want. And then they can use that to coordinate with them.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
But it's unlimited donation because money is speech. Businesses are people. So businesses get unlimited free speech. Yeah, and that's like what the Supreme Court decided.
So long as those businesses are not getting abortions, the Republicans don't care what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So HR1, keep an eye on it. We'll definitely do more about it. Like it's going to be, I'm interested because right now everybody is like out front is like they're super supportive of it because there's no angle to attack it. So I'll be interested in the future to see because I was apparently a strategizing session just got leaked where it was like the remaining Koch brother, Mitch McConnell's office, like basically
one of the Koch brothers died.
Yeah.
It was a glorious day.
Yeah.
I either forgot about that or didn't hear about it. When was this?
This was a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I believe it was, I want to say 2016. Hang on.
Did he eat his brother when he died, though? I could picture one of the Koch brothers doing that. Are you alive? No.
what I can't understand is why no one at that funeral pushed the remaining Koch brother into the open
Into the
grave
grave
and started
Just close
shoveling dirt on him. Yeah. Like that was the responsible thing.
Because
to
their
do.
children
Was,
are
David
more,
David Koch died in
business.
Southampton, New York on August 23rd, 2019 at the age of 79. His wife and their 3 children inherited
We're buried with them
42%
alive.
stake in Koch Industries from him upon his death.
Huh.
Yep.
I was hoping it would say they were buried alive with him in the
yeah, his wife and children were.
what do you call those tombs that they have out in cemeteries that you can like slam the door shut, seal it up?
Oh, mausoleum.
I'll say a crypt. But
Yeah, the mausoleum. You can still hear them screaming in there to this day because he had it filled with peanut butter or something, so they can survive, but they're just in there with him.
That's like in my new bill. In my new bill, I'd like to advance through Congress. I think we either need a serious inherited wealth tax, or
Trump would hate that.
Well,
Trump actually rolled the wealth tax back a lot, like the inheritance tax rather back a lot.
Well, you have to choose between the inheritance tax when you die or a Viking funeral for your family. So you have options. You can do either one. They get the money, but then they have to go on a boat that's on fire with your body.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. I'm
a
fan.
You were asking earlier, like where this bill might be. Well, the fun thing about how bills pass through Congress is that it's kind of however Congress wants. Like they don't have to write anything up officially. Because remember the tax cut for the wealthy had like notes in the margins, which would become part of the official law. And no one could read it whenever it was being shoved through there last minute. It was just a giant stack of papers with like notes written in the margins. This is your bill, and they crammed it as fast as possible.
Yeah,
that was also true of the last 3 of 5 attempts Republicans made at repealing and replacing Obamacare. Yeah,
the replacement plan is you repeal it, then nothing.
Yeah, the replacement.
Well,
we replace it with human suffering.
Healthcare plan. The Republicans' healthcare plan is step 1: don't be poor. Step 2: don't get sick.
I was going to say
step 3: if you happen to be poor and get sick, die as quickly as possible so that you don't leave medical debt to anyone.
Well, I was going to say,
that's the Republican healthcare plan.
If you get sick, go bite a stick. See, it's got a nice like ring to it. Because that's what
buy a stick and beat yourself to death with it.
The other big thing that's going on right now is Matt Gaetz apparently continues to just dig himself deeper into the like. So he's sex trafficking. If you go across
allegedly.
Allegedly. I guess we should say allegedly, unless we get sued for libel, and we have no budget on this show.
We wouldn't want Wesley to rat us out and,
to pay a libel lawsuit. Yeah, he allegedly went across state lines to have sex with underage women. I don't know why the news isn't calling him alleged pedophile, Matt Gaetz, because that's the first thing I would do.
Because he only goes on conservative news networks, and so of course they're not going to call him what he is, because he's still a Republican. But it's just wonderful how everyone he talks to, he throws under the bus as quickly as possible with the whole, we're not so different, you and I kind of shtick that most villains have. So he was on Tucker Carlson's show, and Carlson was, sitting there like the confused puppy he always, does, like,
yeah.
And Matt Gaetz starts saying, and you were accused of sexual assault sometime. And Tucker Carlson was like, you're referring to something that happened 20 years ago. That was a mentally ill woman that said that. And so he was like real defensive real fast because he realized, you're trying to call me a pedophile too. No, sir, son. You're not going to be able to say we're all getting accused of this stuff, because that's not me.
No, and I love it. Whenever he came back from break, like after the interview, because of course, Gaetz is not in the studio with him, because they are deathly afraid of COVID, even though they have both been vaccinated at this point. Still spreading bullshit about the vaccine though, but and the virus. But anyway, no, after the break, they came back to just Carlson at the desk, and he just goes, well, I don't know if before that break you caught that interview with Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. Honestly, one of the weirdest interviews I've ever done in my entire life. Like, even Carlson can't believe.
I think he realizes the guy's guilty as sin.
Like, yeah.
Well, apparently,
what I can't believe, and I'll tell you what I can't believe. I can't believe that Matt Gaetz is cheating on his recently of age, totally his adopted son and not his boyfriend, Do you know anything about that?
No.
Like me, like I was crazy.
All I knew was Matt Gaetz before all this was one of the annoying, big-headed Trump sycophants. That's all I knew.
Yeah. Well, before
Funny how
that,
pedophiles seem to love Trump.
Alleged pedophiles, alleged Trump.
Alleged pedophiles.
Alleged pedophiles seem to love
Trump. Yep. God, I can't. Epstein, that's it. Trump's good friend Epstein seemed to also like girls on the young side, according to Trump.
Yeah. Hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh yeah, no. And I love how the liberals have got to jump on shit like that faster to get ahead of a narrative. Like the left was all over it. Holy shit, Trump killed this guy. But of course, leftists don't own any media because leftists try to not own things. But it was the liberals totally let that get away from them. Like they could have totally turned around and went, wow, someone Donald Trump was friends with and said he liked hanging around with and did go to his like parties and shit like that, died while under the custody of Trump's Justice Department at a federal, meaning Trump prison.
Where's the Benghazi? Died. Where's the fucking Benghazi on that one?
Oh, but God, no. Immediately the far right stood up and went, oh my God, it's the Clintons. If Hillary Clinton had half of the power these idiots are convinced she had, why is she
direct pacts with Satan?
Yeah. No, that's my biggest issue with the left is just like the right always wins because they're so much faster and like they know how to like
stick quicker. They stick to short little buzz phrases like Epstein didn't kill himself. It's like, yeah, but who killed him then? Of course it applies to Clintons.
It's the liberals, not the left. It's the difference of like trying to explain to a conservative that no, I own guns. See, if you go far enough to the left, you get your guns back.
Yeah.
It's the
left is the super left is super violent. Like there's been a lot of governments overthrown by leftist groups. Like that's people don't understand nuance though. Like
we got Bastille Day coming up.
anytime like my family is online railing against socialism, I'm just like like because my family lived in Venezuela for a while and some of my family is Venezuelan, so they love to be like socialism ruined Venezuela. They go, yeah, that's what did it, not Chavez or a fractured political thing. No, it was trying to give people health care.
This is socialism. Chavez did nothing wrong. Socialism. He called it like COVID, and he just had like the sniffles and the socialisms and wiped it out.
I always thought.
Wait. I have something that is shit. It's on my phone. I'm gonna hang on. Sorry. No, I have to read you this. I had to download it. A friend of mine posted it. It is just absolutely, it's fucking gold.
Is it an Easter poem?
Fuck. No, hang on.
While you're looking for it, I don't know if you guys ever listened to the interviews between when Chavez and would talk about like Fidel Castro, but I am convinced that there was an affair going on there because the way
Chavez and Castro?
Yeah. Because the way he described the way he described Castro was very weird and sexual, and like he'd be like, he is a man whose beard is so oily and rough on your skin, and his boots are so shiny, and he's as a man and a leader, I've never been held so close and kissed so tenderly. And you're like, is he still talking about Castro? And like no one else ran with that. I'm like, these dudes are totally making out when the cameras are off. Like,
I ship those two now. I officially ship those two in my head.
It's also, you have to understand, like Latin American culture is all about like machismo, and you should like that sort of stuff. And it was, far more likely he was trying to make him look just absolutely, just as masculine and as he possibly could. But that's not the only thing. They were possibly lovers, but
it read so just like, and when you have been kissed behind the ears and held so tightly by his taut old muscles, like you're like, good God, man.
No, I hang on. Yeah, I'm not gonna find it. Frack.
We would
No, but
cuddle. We would
it
cuddle
was
for
so
hours
close
under the
comment.
Cuban moon.
It was no. Okay, listen. So far as
His tongue
revolutionaries
caressed mine
go,
so tenderly.
Che Guevara, hands down, no holds barred, anything and everything that could happen can happen. I'm on board. Okay, the Castro brothers, yeah, but Che Guevara, that motherfucker was handsome,
Yeah,
asthmatic, but he'll take your breath away.
he was also a complete. We'll do a whole thing about revolutionaries. That might be our next one. Like, Che Guevara was such an asshole. He's the
Who's our
guy.
favorite revolutionary?
He's
that would be a tough question.
He's the guy at parties that brings out a guitar and ruins the fucking parties because now all the girls are focused on him and his hair. And he plays the acoustic guitar so well. Oh, Che, you're so handsome. Like,
Che Guevara's the fucking college freshman that goes back to all the high school parties.
Yes, yes, 100% he is. God, I hate that man. So let's get to it today. Our favorite, our favorite failed government, right? Although I guess mine's technically not like failed. It would have been if things had been different.
Mine may come with a point of contention.
Okay.
But
I'm a contentious individual. I'm cool with that.
Okay.
All right.
So
who wants to go? Who wants to go first? All right. Also, are we calling you Patrick? By the way, I realize we've been calling you by your birth name and for a while. And
I don't care. Okay, I don't care. I've been noticing that.
I've just been calling you Wildo.
Yeah, if we call him,
know your name was Patrick.
That's what's on the thing down here, and I don't know how to change that. So it doesn't matter.
What are we gonna do?
Peter should be Peter Van Pelt, I think, but it's still like Styx Griffin at the end of it.
Not worried. All right. So Wilda, go ahead. Tell us about your favorite failed government and why it's your favorite.
So my favorite one is the Byzantine Empire because it's basically the conclusion of Rome. And Rome was a pretty baller empire. It lasted 1,000 years, plus however long the Byzantine Empire lasted, plus technically on through like Ottoman and modern day Turkey. So it kind of never fell. Like people were calling themselves Romans up to, the 21st century. So it's kind of just going on and on. But you could say it basically ended at the end of the Byzantine Empire. Like that was where it cut off. So it's just fascinating to see its final days and how it fell from grace because Constantine decided that they were no longer going to be the old Roman Empire. They're going to be a Christian empire. And this is how Christianity basically just collapsed the whole thing from the top down.
There's a really good documentary called The Sword of Constantine. Where I think that's probably where Christianity went from like we're the last time that they were like we're the victims to like no longer was he was like, hey everybody, I had this cool idea, we're all going to be Christian, and they're like I don't know, and he's like, okay, so if you're not sure, I'm going to cut your head off, so who wants to be Christian? And everyone was like, me.
Yeah, basically, and actually this is kind of apropos because today's Easter, so all this kind of starts with Jesus being killed.
And then Easter so much.
And then 330 years later, Constantine's all like, I'm going to be the 13th apostle, which, as all Kevin Smith fans out there knows, the actual 13th apostle was Rufus.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Was Constantine the one that was pretty normal guy until he got sick, and then when he got better, his brain wasn't quite right, and so he did some crazy stuff?
I mean, you're going to have to be a lot more specific.
I think specifically,
he went blind for a bit, and then he wasn't blind anymore.
I believe they think that the Byzantium Empire had. I believe they think they had a. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Justinian. My bad. There was a whole book I read called "The Flea of Justinian" about how they had the Roman Empire had a breakout of the plague like before it really hit later on in the 1300s.
Okay, so Byzantine Empire equals medieval Roman Empire. I have so many notes up here that it almost feels like I'm presenting like a class presentation here, so I'll try not to let it turn into that.
Well, it is
sort of show and tell. This is the Roman Empire. It's my favorite empire because I like the pretty columns.
It is the best thing to say with a British accent after Tunisia.
True. They had a golden bird. That was my favorite fact about the whole thing. There was a golden bird in the Byzantine Empire, and it sat in a golden tree, and it sang to people.
Like real?
Like they made a little robot bird.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like everything in the past that was terrible. Like they poured molten gold over a bird and a tree, and they're like,
Bird.
it's singing, and you're like, no, that's actually it's death screams.
They had some lions, some robot lions, or no, lion statues. They're either statues or robot lions. They had like instruments set up so they would roar at people as they walked by them, and it would freak people out that were from faraway lands walking through, and all the technological advances that they had in the Byzantine Empire.
That's pretty cool.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so the citizens themselves considered themselves Romans. Only later during the Renaissance did the name Byzantine Empire enter the lexicon of historians. Artists of that age felt like the Christian Romans were their own category. Plus, that made the works of art feel more special to them if they were sculpting things from antiquity instead of something that was around only 100 years prior.
Right.
So 330 was the founding of Byzantine, when Constantine, I already mentioned him, decided to move the capital of Rome to Constantinople, which was founded on top of the Greek city of Byzantium, like you had said. And this was a good 100 years before the Visigoths decided to burn like the holy city of Rome in Italy. And as Italy burned, it was taken over by barbarians. They're all like, well, okay, but there's still like the whole Eastern Roman Empire. And so that just continued on and on until quite a while, actually, 1453. But
Really, I didn't realize they lasted that long. I guess they fell to the Ottoman Turks, right?
Yeah. The Ottomans was eventually what took it down. But before that, it was actually someone very similar to Donald Trump that nearly destroyed Constantinople. And that's what is it? Huh?
Are you talking about the Fourth Crusade?
During one of the Crusades,
the Fourth Crusade was the one that went the worst. They were supposed to. So one of the biggest issues with all of the Crusades was who the fuck is paying for this? Like the Pope would just tell people, "Oh, we need to go and retake the Holy Land," and everyone's like, kind of busy doing a feudalism right now. Why do we need to go retake the Holy Land? And they're like, because the Muslims. Get them.
This was because they had
you're on. That's what happened.
They had too many. They had too many knights that were just like, well, I spent my whole life doing this, learning how to kill, and there ain't enough people to kill. I'm just gonna go kill my. So the knights just kept fucking stuff up in Europe, and the Pope's like, God, what the fuck do I do? And he was like, oh, Muslims. We'll go and we'll fight the Muslims.
It's like a knight burst into your house and stabs your wife, and you're just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And he's just like, don't worry about it, bro. My dad owns a dealership.
Yeah, pretty much. Like all knights were
burst into your house, and they're like, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Stab.
Yeah, no, it was just to get rid of the fucking knights because they needed something to stab.
Yep. Yeah. So it was Alexius Angelus, who was a guy who had a claim to the throne. Like his dad was a deposed emperor, and the current guy on the throne, he said, is an illegitimate emperor. So he got a bunch of French and Venetian soldiers to follow him in 1203 to depose the current emperor, and so that he could rule Rome, the Byzantine Empire. It works, and he's seated on the throne, and now he had promised all these people a fortune, which is great because it's like an old school Nigerian prince, right? Like, for the low price of your unquestioning loyalty in battle, you could be rich. So that was the promise to them. And then he takes over. Slight problem, the citizens hate this guy, and within a year they kill him. Like they drag him off the throne and toss him off a tower. So he's dead, and now there's no one to pay all these soldiers. And so the soldiers, in their fury of not getting paid, burn the city to the ground. And while the citizens do recover, it's never quite as good. And also the Crusaders conquer a lot of the land and just keep it for themselves. Like this is their payment now. Like we own most of your land, and they never get most of that back. So it continues all the way from then until 1453, but it's just like limping along. And so when the Ottoman Emperor Mehmed the Conqueror shows up, he just sort of takes over what's left of the city, and that's GG. Like it's over at that point. All because a Donald Trump individual sort of showed up and he's like, trust me, folks, I'll pay you all. It'll be tremendous. And then he doesn't pay any of the people that did all the work for him. He also had a fake claim to the throne, just like Trump did whenever he tried to sick the Q shaman on the Capitol. It really is just history repeating themselves, except Trump didn't succeed and then get deposed, and then the MAGA people rise up and burn America.
I mean, they're working on that. That's coming down the pipe in like the next 10 years. I bet you money.
So here's just one more fun fact. Where is it? So even after Ottoman conquered Constantinople, many people in the area, the Eastern Mediterranean people that could speak Greek continued to call themselves Romans up through the 21st century, up to the early 21st century.
Yeah, a lot of history was like a place would change hands and they'd be like, all right, you guys are you're Turks now, and they're like, cool, all right, whatever, man. I'm gonna continue to fucking sell olives and shit and speak Greek. I don't really care.
Yeah. But yeah, so Rome kind of continued up to the present day, sort of, kind of, like it just kind of died.
I mean,
10 years ago.
I would argue that the Ottoman Empire that was all completely dismantled.
Yeah, that was really the death knell of it.
Yeah, where like World War I, it was done. I would argue that there was no more Ottoman anything.
Yeah, and then it was Turkey, and that's really GG, because I don't know. I can't imagine the ancient Romans being like, yeah, being Turkey's fine too. Yeah, they'd probably be like, nah, we stopped well before that point.
There's a really good podcast, and I've gotten so far into it. I've never completed the whole thing, but it's called The History of Rome, and they're little like 30-minute segments from the beginning to the end, and it's so interesting. It's just it's hard to get through the entirety of Roman history.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I have way more notes than that, but that's the gist of it. That's all the important bits.
Nice.
And that's why I like it. They were
opening browser windows this whole time, just going like, oh yeah, and I should talk about that. Like
I kind of did a little bit of the same thing. I'm like, I need more stuff on my country, but
well, in case mine falls flat, can I go before you?
Yeah, go ahead, because I always go first, so then we should switch it up. Let me go last. Yeah.
So 100%. It may be a little contentious. Hang on, let me get prepared for this. But my government that wait, shit, that's the wrong thing. Crap. Nope. Wait, no, don't do that.
You sound like a failed government right now.
I am. Your mom failed government.
Oh. Wait, crap. No, don't do that.
All right.
Oh, so no, the government failed again.
My failed government. Ta-da.
Q Shaman.
Yes. I hate that dude so much because he's gonna be in history. He's gonna be on the cover of history books.
Oh, he definitely will definitely be on the cover of history books. Not American history books, but other countries' history books about America.
Long after America's gone, they'll be remembering this.
The Chinese government is long been prepared for a shot like this one.
It's gonna have that guy's face and say late American Republican era or whatever. And
no. So my case here is that the February 6th insurrection was itself a failed government. It lasted for less than a day, and what I think is important here is that you can have a government even without institutions and policies and even recognition from the outside.
Right.
You can still have a government. The people that stormed the Capitol that day definitely believed that they were overthrowing the illegitimate government of the United States. They believed themselves to be doing a government. So that's what I want to that's where it begins. But what I want to talk about is the absolute bonkers shit that QAnon believes. Okay, so here's what they thought was going to happen on that day. What they thought, January 6th, not February 6th, January 6th. What they thought was going to happen was that Donald Trump told them in their, little rally at the White House, which I think Biden and Congress need to pass, that you can't use the White House or any of its grounds for political purposes. But anyway, anywho, they left a MAGA rally in which they were told to fight like hell, and repeatedly told that the election was illegitimate, that what was going on, and Donald Trump singled out Nancy Pelosi, as he always does, but he also singled out Mike Pence. Now, this was a significant departure. This was Trump directly targeting a member of his own administration. And if anybody's listening to this and they're confused about what was actually going on in Congress on the 6th, it was ceremony. That was it.
Right.
It was the ceremony. That it would be the very same as if it was tornado warnings the whole day of January 20th, and Biden couldn't actually walk the steps of the Capitol to be inaugurated on the Capitol steps.
They seem
that
to
wouldn't matter.
believe
He's still the president.
Yeah, they seem to
Yeah.
believe in this mad.
He becomes president at the stroke of noon.
Right. They have this
No matter
weird,
what we're doing.
they have this weird belief in the magic of ceremony, that if like the ceremony is not complete, you do not become president. It's the same way that this kind of, if you follow like the sovereign citizen people, they have a bunch of
No. Hang on. I'm getting into that. I'm getting into that.
Because it's the same thing.
After Trump, so QAnon itself, like just telling people, oh, Donald Trump is secretly, infiltrating pedophile rings and like, celebrities and all this, Nancy Pelosi and the Clintons are all, they're all satanic pedophile cannibals.
But QAnon does not believe that Rick Gates is a pedophile. They're like, oh no, that's too far.
But hang on. That all is fairly innocent. You can believe nonsense, it's fine. But what has occurred with QAnon is that they've been infiltrated by the sovereign citizen movement, by the Oath Takers, which are both extremist groups. I believe they are both identified by the Southern Poverty Law Center to be far-right hate groups. Yeah. And then you get others who come on board, basically dogpiling on with them, like the Proud Boys. Gavin McInnes took a dildo up his ass to own the libs. You gotta love him. Anyway, he's not in charge of the Proud Boys anymore, and his wife, Gavin McInnes, just as a side note, Gavin McInnes's wife, who he would frequently trot out as, if I'm a racist, then why do I have a black wife? Yeah, she has since divorced him, claiming emotional, psychological, and physical abuse. So yeah, Gavin, you kind of are a racist. But anyway,
why does he have a black wife? So he can abuse her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he was using her as a human shield. Anyway, so basically, what for a lot of people don't know what the sovereign citizen movement is.
You know who does know? The cops, and because those dudes often shoot cops at traffic stops.
No, they do. Sovereign citizens are according to the FBI stats, the last time I saw it was either 2014, 2015. Cops are more likely to be injured or killed by a member or just a believer in the sovereign citizen stuff than with any other interactions. Like we're talking drug dealers, drug cartels, things like that. They are far more likely to be killed or injured by sovereign citizens, and it's mostly because it's so random. Well, anyway, for people who are listening who don't know what the hell is a sovereign citizen, well, they're people who believe or have been led to believe that essentially the US government is not a government, and that since some say it's since the Articles of Confederation, and that's where the term sovereign citizen comes from, because the Articles of Confederation basically it either has a clause in it or it starts like it's we the people, where like the states and the sovereign citizens thereof of these united provinces or whatever, and that's where they take it from. And they believe that the current US Constitution, the one that was adopted in the 1790s, it was 1790s, right?
I should know this. I can't remember how long it took.
Yeah, it's fine. But it wasn't the Articles of Confederation is the point. It was later that was somehow illegitimate. Now, combine that with QAnon, and QAnon has taken sovereign citizen to the next level in that it is now no longer just like a personal, like lone wolf type ideology. It's now a group of people who believe wholeheartedly that Ulysses S. Grant was the last legitimate president of the United States, and that on March 4th, so a month ago, Donald Trump was a month ago from when we're recording this in 2021, Donald Trump will be inaugurated as president. And if you don't see it on TV, that's fine, because it's happening in secret. And Biden is, and there's all these conspiracies about like, oh, Biden's on a movie set, da-da-da-da-da-da. And
I've heard
people
that.
genuinely believe this stuff. It's the cognitive dissonance of you can't believe anything that you see. And that's where a lot of these cultish type political, these dangerous political cults get into, is distrust all media, only listen to me. And that's I know I've brought it up before, but if you haven't checked him out, Dr. Stephen Hassan is an absolutely brilliant. I believe he's either a sociologist or a psychologist, but he got out of the Moonies, which, if you don't know, is a Korean Christian messianic cult that made it to the United States in the 70s. Anyway, so he's created the BITE model, and it's not just for use with like religious cults, but it's for use with like political cults, cults of celebrity, things like that. And it goes through BITE, BITE. So B is for behavior control, I is for information control, T is for thought control, and E is for emotional control. So you look at it and you say, well, I mean, every religion could be considered a cult. Every political movement could be considered a cult. Yes, but is it a dangerous cult?
I got it in
ideology.
I got into. There's my cousin's into weird stuff like this, and I got into an argument with him about distrusting the media because we got in an argument about 9/11, and I said, fine, what media then are you getting your facts from? Because he couldn't.
Critters.
And I swear to God, he just goes, God. And I went, cool. I'm like, now does he like talk to you? Like, does he
libertyinfo.biz?
Yeah. Does he form in front of you? Do you hear him in your head? Have you been tested for schizophrenia?
Funny, I follow God on Twitter. He's not a Trump supporter.
Yeah, but that was my point. Like, mistrust all media, except this one media where I get my stuff from. And I'm like, well, then why can't you trust that? Like, I'm all about distrusting people.
It's what I've had to explain to people about Fox News. If someone has to tell you that they are the most trusted name in news or that they are fair and balanced, if someone has to tell you that, guess what they aren't?
Yeah.
No,
you know,
if you go on a date.
Since Nixon, the Republicans have been hard turning away from like facts and reality because their control of facts and reality sort of became looser around that time. But mostly Nixon invented the idea of the liberal biased media to explain why the media kept trying to call him a criminal. That's not because he was a criminal, but because
they hated.
They're just biased against him.
But
all the other Republicans kept that going ever since Nixon.
And it's worth pointing out that Roger Ailes, the guy who created Fox News with Rupert Murdoch,
huge Nixon supporter.
He was in the administration.
Yeah,
like he was there for well, I've lost Cronkite, I've lost America.
He was convinced that what's his name? Murdoch was convinced that, or in particular, Murdoch was convinced that if only all the news networks hadn't been against Nixon 24/7, he would have remained president. And so Fox News was started as an experiment to try to make sure that no Republican president ever had to step down again, and it kind of worked for Trump.
If you have 100%, realistic media coverage on the bad thing that they just went and did, they did the bad thing.
At first it went from a biased media to just straight up fake news with Trump. But in between, they tried to slowly chip away at institutions of intelligence over the years. That's why college has a liberal bias, the newspaper's liberal bias, news itself liberal bias, any books liberal bias, anything where you can find sources of information, anything that would make you smarter, liberal bias. I wonder why that is.
I need the Bible.
If you have a president who says, I'm not a crook, if you go on a date with somebody and the first thing the person you go on a date with, if they go, hey, listen, trust me, I'm not a rapist. Don't elect that person. Don't go on a date with that person.
Like, oh, okay. I'll follow you down a dark alley.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to get ahead of this before my friends start to whisper, but I do not eat kittens alive. So if anyone says that, all the fur around my apartment was there when I got there. Like, I'm trying to vacuum it up. It's very stubborn, especially the blood stains.
I have provided airfare and meals and gifts for numerous women. I mean, which of these women are they talking about? I don't know. Suddenly that's a bad thing? Gosh, I wish these feminists would get off their high horses. What were we talking about?
I enjoy your Matt Gaetz impression.
Oh my God. No, hang on. Here's my Matt Gaetz impression.
You gotta make your head like 3 times, like a filter to make your head like 5 times bigger.
It's he doesn't have cheekbones, he has temple bones. I
can't with this limited camera space, I can't quite do it, but
so that's what's terrifying about the sovereign citizen. Like, I've heard people go off like, there's a whole thing about a court of law has no jurisdiction because there's an admiralty flag because of the gold fringe.
Oh yeah, that's because of the gold fringes around it.
And I've gone, hey, guess what? you're still going to jail if you go to court, because no matter what you think, power resides where people believe the power in the institution resides.
And
that's always been true.
So one of the key things that the sovereign citizen movement believe, there's just a few keys, and one of it has to do with the courts, with the whole, there's a gold fringe on the flag, so this is an admiral's court for some reason, even though they're in like, it's like, sir, this is a Wendy's. Like, you need to pay your
that's what it should be called. Like, sir, this is a Wendy's.
So part of the sovereign citizen movement believes that the Articles of Confederation are heretofore into perpetuity the government of this country, that the government can't tell states what to do, and therefore states cannot tell the sovereign citizens what to do. Meaning, like, if the police pull you over, you can shoot them in the face because they're trying to take your liberty. And then the other thing, the other thing that they believe is that and where QAnon starts mixing with this this sovereign citizen movement, because it'd be hard to call sovereign citizen a cult, but they do share some characteristics. It's very like level one, like entry level stuff, but that's what gets people into, you know, shit like QAnon, which is, you know, much more, you have a lot more suspension of disbelief in order to get into QAnon than you do to get into sovereign citizens.
And it's always, you're in a Burger King and somebody's like, no, man, you can go put your mouth right on the soda machine. There's not a damn sign that says you can't. And that's because the Constitution is illegitimate. And it states in Article 2 that you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's no, there was a post on Tumblr, and it was something like, can you believe how hot lava gets at volcanoes? That's wild. And someone was like, it looks so good. It looks like I want to drink it. And someone got on and went, as a geologist, I advise you to not drink the lava. And then someone as a joke got on and went, oh, look at big geology here telling us what to do. Teach the conspiracy, drink the lava.
Yeah. No, it's like that. Like, I did. Whenever you find out, it's always a hard left from some weird argument that doesn't make sense anyway, because of a comma that somebody put in a document in like 1830. You're allowed to shoot a cop in the face, is what it comes down to.
People have been hung for commas, so
very, very interestingly, with the choice to pick that that Ulysses S. Grant was the final president, meaning that whenever Trump is inaugurated a month ago, not on inauguration day, because they don't believe. So
does Q think that he's president right now?
They think that he's president right now, yes, and they believe that their actions at the Capitol caused that to happen. That the pedophile ring is running scared, and they're, you know, and something's about to drop. It's always, that's the thing with QAnon, like the thing with like the Jehovah's Witnesses in the 1800s, or you know, any I mean, just take your pick, any suicide cult.
They said on inauguration day that there was going to be a big blackout, and then whenever it came back up, the Clintons and all that would be getting led away in handcuffs. Obama would be getting led away in handcuffs, and Trump would be up there taking the oath, and they're like, it's going to happen.
That's what.
And then when Biden was sworn in like 6 minutes early, they're like, why is he trying to get sworn in early? He's running scared. He's trying to get ahead of this. It was really funny to read the live commentary on inauguration day. It was wonderfully cathartic after all the bullshit.
Because if he speaks the magic incantation commonly known as the inauguration, the spell will take effect and Trump doesn't have a chance. Like it's no, but I think I saw the post that you're talking about. It was someone like back in January listed it out on Facebook, and it was like January 6th there will be a thing about they can't certify this election, and then on January 20th Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th. Within 12 hours the power grid and fuel supplies will be cut. Within 2 weeks,
people are stocking up for
all
that.
Republicans will be rounded up into re-education camps, and then it's like all this kind of stuff. And then somebody posted it today because it ended on, and by the beginning of April, that's when the Chinese will invade. And it's like, where they at? Where Xi Jinping? Oh my God, is he right behind me?
Yeah. He could be. Oh no, that's Q Shaman. It's fine. Q Shaman, he blocked him with his body. You're safe.
Yeah.
And everybody constantly like people like
Winnie the Pooh is stuck
about
in the
liberals are
the door
complaining about,
going,
oh,
bother.
he wants to have a paleo keto vegan diet in jail. Yeah, give him one. I don't give a shit. That has
Well, he'll get
nothing
that
to
in
do.
he'll get that in
It-
jail, but not in
it-
prison. Those are very different places,
It's
as he
cruel
will
and
learn.
unusual to keep it from anyone. I'm totally on board with whatever the fuck he wants to eat. If he says my religion says that I can only eat shellfish, give the man a fucking lobster. I don't care. Give him his day in court, and we'll see how this is going on. Which is the other thing I wanted to get into. The very interesting and quite frankly amazing defenses that some of these people are coming up with, and their lawyers are coming up with. Literally,
my favorite was
told me to do it.
My favorite
Trump
was
directly told me to do this.
One of the people that got arrested
To
said,
be fair, he did. Like Trump went on for not just on the day that they attacked the Capitol, but for weeks before then, he had been saying that the election was stolen and that someone do something. How many times has he tweeted in all caps, "Do something"?
One of the people's defense was that to put this man or woman in jail, I can't remember what it was, would be cruel and unusual because they've never been in jail before. And I'm like, that's jail. I mean, your lawyer's not wrong. He's just an asshole. Yeah, jail sucks. It is
jail's pretty awful. Like that's why people don't want to go there.
It is kind of cruel and unusual to be ripped from your life and then incarcerated for a number of years that were agreed upon by 12 people and then a 13th person in a robe. I mean, it's a little weird, but that's our system.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Or it's not because the gold bars means Admiral something.
Yeah. And
illegitimate.
And when Star Trek switched from Picard to that other one, there's a comma in the Articles of Confederation. I'm like, you can't even spell Articles Confederation. Shut the fuck up. Like you don't get.
It was back whenever Congress had 2 F's and men were men and women were women and baby Jesus was in the manger. We need to go back to that America. As a
U.S. history teacher,
8-ounce baby Jesus.
As a U.S. history teacher, I can generally get to like a point they can't answer within. And they have like 7 degrees of like Kevin Bacon. I can get to like you don't have answers within like 5 questions to any sovereign fucking citizen. Like, okay, why this? Yeah, like 5 questions. They're like, and then they're like, if you ever studied Isaac Newton, when he got to physics that he couldn't like explain, he would say it was angels.
I mean, he did practice alchemy in his attic, so
become gold.
Joe Biden is president. Joe Biden is president.
How many of those people sat down and pulled
Hillary's alchemy?
How many of those people have pulled the Forrest Gump after the January 6th insurrection? They're arrested and they're just going, please God, turn me into a bird so I can fly far, far, far away.
Oh, Jenny's prayer. I thought you were going to be like, and that's when Trump started running, and he kept running for president. And he didn't make it, but he kept running.
Yeah, that's a lot of But
Trump said these were my magic microphones. They let me talk to people anyway.
But they were legitimately going to try to install him as dictator.
Yeah, that's the point I'm coming across as, and it's that even with a solid 4 years of people like Stephen Miller and Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions just eroding institutions. I have a friend of mine. In fact, I always send her our episodes because we've been away from each other because quarantine and just be away from people. Don't be near people. Just send her because we would sit and talk politics all the time. But she would as a joke, like before the 2016 election, text me like, is now a good time to bug out to the woods, and stuff like that. And then after Trump got elected, she goes, okay, so now is definitely the time to bug out to the woods. And I was like, no, don't worry. Okay, institutional momentum kept Byzantium going for 1,000 years.
I'm not gonna lie, as a guy who just got back from the woods in 20-degree weather, I don't want to go till I absolutely have to. And that's
you kind of went during a cold snap, I noticed, because it got real cold down here in Georgia.
Decided to go camping, it got cold.
Well, it's like I only had so much of my spring break, but no, it's what bothers me about the QAnon sovereign citizen. Like, there's going to be a civil war. We've talked about before in this podcast. These people have never like slept outside and had to shit in a hole for like multiple days on end. It gets old fast.
Well, and it was that Trump rally that was held outdoors in the middle of fucking Minnesota. He was trying to Amy Klobuchar some people, and the bus drivers, after dropping everyone off from the parking lot to the assembly area, realized they weren't getting paid. So guess who went home? Yeah. The union bus drivers went home. And all these people got stranded. And they're like, oh my God, it's chaos at a Trump rally. Is it like old people were freezing to death because Donald Trump doesn't pay his bills? Like,
well, part of me, I feel bad. Part of me wants to be like, why don't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? But I mean, ultimately, it's like people that have been,
they couldn't survive the walk to the parking lot, for Christ's sake. Like,
they're not going to be able to survive marching through the woods to try and like sack Atlanta again or whatever, so that the black people can't vote in Atlanta and instill more Democrats.
After that rally, that there had to be at least a couple of old Cherokee people sitting around being like, it's funny, huh? Having to walk in the cold because the president left you somewhere.
God, that's dark.
Surviving in the woods lasts exactly as long as it takes to get like covered in sap and mosquito bites. So the late afternoon, like, it really starts to suck whenever you're waking up on the cold, like whatever you slept on, because it's going to be cold and wet. Because in the morning in the woods, everything is wet. That's what you find out very quickly.
Also, I'm going to throw this out there: the ground is your enemy. Fuck the ground
a lot.
Yeah, I hate the ground.
Sorry, I'm having so many problems with my phone.
It's wet. It's awful. Everything is uphill. Like, you're not used to going from civilization where everything is flat and there are no like awful inclines to everything is on an incline, and you're always walking like steeply uphill, slipping on rocks and roots and leaves. There's bugs everywhere, and you go to sit down and you're being crawled on by insects, but you don't brush them off because you're too tired because you've been walking all day.
This is gonna sound weird, but I forgot to bring, of all things, to bring a fucking spoon. So I had,
you had to eat with a rock.
Yeah, I ate my chili mac with a rock I had fashioned into kind of a spoon scoop. And that was probably the best thing. I was like, this is actually not bad. You know, it's clean. It's good old.
Probably would have just like drank it at that point instead of using
it. Was in like a pouch, and it's kind of hard because you don't want to look. It was called Bear Mountain. I didn't want to go to sleep covered in chili mac because I didn't want to find out if the name was accurate. You know what I mean? I didn't want to baste myself in delicious juices.
The results could have been grisly.
Yeah, well, I don't think there are any Grizzlies on the East Coast to be the Ben Shapiro of that joke.
They would bear the brunt of their hunger towards you.
Do we want to get to Texas real quick? Because I am gonna have to. We are gonna have to do a hard ending around 9:30 because I got another thing to do. But so my favorite failed republic is the Republic of Texas. And I think the reason I chose this because I went through a couple of different countries, and most of them were just like warring factions, tore government apart, unable to put back together. Also, other countries interfering in the factionalism kind of made it worse, like with Afghanistan and Somalia. But Texas,
most of Central and South America as well.
Yeah. But I love to shit on Texas independence because as we grew up being told, man, they were fighting for your freedom, and like, when you get down to it, Texas invited people into Mexico invited people into the Texas territory. They said, you just have to be Catholic and you can't have any slaves, right? And they went ape shit. They were like, fuck that, fuck you. I'm bringing my slaves in because Mexico had a really bad taste in their mouth from being under Spain's rule not too long ago. And so they were pretty much slaves. So they were like, first thing, once they won their independence from Mexico was like, no more slaves. So the Americans going in there were like, this is my property and you can't, I'm an American. Like, you know, like anytime an American.
I'm sorry. No, this is America.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, anytime an American gets like locked up in another country for breaking that country's laws, and we're like, you can't just arrest an American. Well, you can if you're breaking laws in another.
Please help me. I am an American and I am in trouble. That's cute.
So they basically they got a bunch of guys together, they started rebelling and drove the Mexican troops out of San Antonio, did a whole thing this is the dumbest thing. They fortified the Alamo, which was like a church made of mud. Like not exact like an adobe church, not really like good fortification. And so of course, like Santa Anna showed up, like surrounded them, and they died valiantly fighting to keep their Texas slaves.
They fought bravely and died stupidly.
Yeah, they fought bravely, but like really, it was just like a, you know, like not for freedom, but the freedom to own slaves, because that's what they wanted. Anyway, a big thing happens because of the Alamo. Sam Houston leads the Texas Volunteers, and they defeat Santa Anna and get Texas its independence, but then quickly turn around and go, "Hey, America! So we won this one battle against the whole country. Can you adopt us now?" And America was like, "Don't. That's going to be a war with Mexico. I don't really want to do right now." But there were like some people in America that were like, "I'd love to do a war with Mexico. That would be awesome." So for like 10 years, Texas was independent, but not really. Like it was just they were basically kind of a pawn between two countries. And then like the area that like
we were like a neutral state, basically.
Yeah, because Mexico was like pretty new at that point. Like they hadn't really solidified, which I think is part of the. Go ahead.
But Mexico is just kind of like a late stage Florida, because Georgia was turned into a state to like insulate the rest of America from Florida.
Yeah. And so like there's even an area between Texas and Mexico where they're arguing where the border is that even Texas and Mexico don't control. It's controlled by the friggin' Comanches or the Apaches. So like they don't even control all their own territory. So there's like they're like back and forth. If the United States had not had interest in annexing Mexico, 100% Mexico would have basically put the rebellion down in Texas and executed everybody. 100%.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But what happens is finally the United States, I believe it was like 1835 to 1845, they were independent. The United States annexes them. Texas is like, Mexico's like, "You can't do that," and the United States is like, "You want to go, son?" Like the United States is like that guy that takes his shirt off outside the bar. Bobby, you've probably seen this, and I think Wilder might have. Think McDonough's like an hour before like last call. Some dude's pulled his shirt off, and he's like, "You want to go?" And you know he's taking his shirt off, so they're gonna fight. And so like that's what happened with the United States and Mexico. Mexico did not want a war. Of course, the United States fought them, beat them, and then like took Texas. Well, oh, by the way, while this was going on, California also declared itself a republic. Like in the middle of all this, California's like, "Hey guys, you guys want to do a heckin' republic?" And they were like, "Yeah." So they were the Bear Flag Republic, and then the United States took all that and basically pissed all over Mexico, which then led to the Civil War, because now we had all this new territory. What about slaves over here? Like, and that led to all that. But yeah, so I just like to crap on it because Texans are so proud that they were an independent republic because they won one battle and then went crying to the United States about, "Please help us. Mexico's been mean to us."
Yeah.
So if you're from Texas,
Sir, we have a message from San Antonio. Well, what does it say? "Mr. President," it says, "I'm an American. Help."
yeah. So people that and the thing is, I like Sam Houston, the guy that was like Texas's first president. He was actually against the American Civil War when Texas like, "We're going to secede for the slaves." Sam Houston's like, "That's a terrible idea." And then they go, "Well, get the hell out of here, Sam Houston," and they kicked his ass out of office.
Yeah.
So I think that we should declare those Muckrakers as our own independent nation. I feel like that's the takeaway from all this. We can just declare ourselves our own nation with Wesley as our leader. So if anyone has a problem with this, arrest him.
Micronations.
We can give you his address.
Do an episode on micronations.
That would be fun. Yeah, I would do. Yeah, I would love that. But we could declare ourselves the first virtual nation.
No, that's already happened.
Oh, has it? Damn it!
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. Yeah, go look at the Wikipedia article for micronation. Not kidding.
A long time ago, people sort of did away with the idea of social groups based on geography, and they started having like social groups based on ideologies, or not social, whatever. Communities based on ideologies and not geographic locations.
I don't like that because that sounds really close to like what the white power people want that are trying to soften
it is becoming that, actually. Yes, because it creates echo chambers and it sort of insulates people from having to see outside ideas. So it's
Yeah.
becoming easier than ever for people to only absorb what they want to see.
There,
And everything online is making that more detrimental to them, because Google will only show you things that it feels like you like. So
Yeah.
YouTube does that all the time. Like, so the
All right,
internet
guys.
is designed to feed you stuff that you want to see, which will narrow your view to the point in which you'll never see outside of it. But
All right,
that's
guys.
better to sell you things.
I'm sorry, but I've absorbed all that I can. I got to go piss.
all right.
But you guys have fun with the rest of the stream, okay?
All right,
Sorry.
guys. Well, that's it for this
You
episode.
have fun with the rest of your stream while we have fun with our stream.
Join us next week when I don't even know what we'll talk about. Maybe micronations. Who knows?
Maybe.
But Bobby went to pee. Wilder, you got anything to pitch before we call it an end?
Yes, buy Dusk Belt books 1 and 2, because book number 3 is coming out soon. So you need to be ready to pick that up and add it to your Dusk Belt library. You can find these at Amazon on Kindle. You can download it to your Kindle today, or you can buy it hardback on regular Amazon stores. They're wonderful stories with very dark endings. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Those Muckrakers on Twitter, or thosemuckrakers@gmail.com if you'd like to send us your own Dear Wesley. Tell us your story. We'll read it on air, and we will give you terrible advice to solve your problems with.
Or if you just have questions about politics or anything we've talked about, or if you're from Texas and you're fighting mad, tell me what you're mad about.
Upset at us making fun of your 10 years of independence that only sustained itself because y'all said y'all were independent. It lasted straight up until it was challenged, and then it all fell apart. Your house of cards.
If you're a weak, watery-kneed Texan, please follow us, Those Muckrakers, at Twitter. You're also able to email us at some email. What is it? thosemuckrakers@gmail.com?
Yep, that is right.
You can send us an email, whatever you want to do. That's going to be it for today. Bobby went to pee. I'm Pete.
And I'm Pat.
And remember the Alamo.